first legs of the Championship playoffs had just about everything but a goal. That's right, 2-0 nils. And people may be a bit underwhelmed with the fact there's been no goals, but both the ties very much hang in the balance going into the second leg for sure. So this will be my, so I'm going to do a bit of reaction to the first legs, but also give my predictions for the second legs as well. Now at this stage, who gets to Wembley? Now we'll be deciding with these games now. Midweek we had, on the Friday night, we saw Hull draw 0-0 with Millwall. And to recap my predictions, I went for a 2-1 Hull win. And then on Saturday we saw Middlesbourgh face Southampton, where I went for a 2-2 draw. So I had the result right in that one, but I think I was clearly being way too ambitious with my score lines, with the amount of goals that were being scored there. But going into the second legs, like I say, it does mean that we've got two incredibly tight games that are still very much firmly in the balance. So there is that side of it as well. Tomorrow night, on Monday night, 8 PM kick-off, we see Hull. We see Millwall will be at home to Hull in that second leg, and then on the Tuesday at 8 o'clock is when we see Southampton face Middlesbrough at St Mary's for their home leg. At this stage now, looking at the favourites to go through, is the two teams that got the draws away from home, and also the two teams that finished higher are the favourites now to go through. Southampton, still playoff favourites, and they were slight favourites in that tie against Middlesbrough, but they're very much the favourites now. And then Millwall, second favourites of the playoffs. Then it goes Middlesbrough, Hull. So we see Millwall now coming up. I mean, a lot of people are still thinking that could be what it's set up for, Southampton Millwall final at Wembley, but well, there's going to be a few twists, I think. So let's have a look at this first game, this Hull and Millwall game, because it was very tight and very cagey. Both of the teams don't have a lot of the ball. They quite often look to counter attack. So it's a very much, and also you should think as well, like both of them, interestingly enough, have got quite a good away record. Hull have actually got, I think, a slightly better home away record than they do at home, and actually up until, I know their away form recently wasn't great, but definitely and the fact they was able to both win at each other's stadium this season as well. Yes, it's interesting. Millwall, they would have liked that goal to have been given in the last minute, take the lead to the Den, would have put themselves in a very comfortable position there, but very nice position for sure going into the second leg. But I mean, the first 15 minutes of the game, Hull had a few decent chances, but from that moment really it was mostly Millwall. It was all Millwall really. Although it wasn't really like hammering chances at Hull, creating loads of massive chances, it was a fairly kind of quiet game in some ways. It did feel for a while like Millwall was in control, and particularly in the second half Hull started to gain a bit more and started to maybe look a bit more threatening and a bit more like they could cause Millwall some problems. But I think the last 10 minutes was really strong for Millwall. I thought they were so unlucky when with that goal that was disallowed. With 5 minutes in, they get this what looked like a match winner, what probably would have won the away leg for them. They looked like they was going to get a big 1-0 win, but wasn't to be. Disallowed for offside. Well, originally it looked like it was disallowed for offside, but it ended up being chalked off for a foul. There was basically a two-way sort of shirt. Both the Hull City defender and the Millwall player both were grabbing onto each other's shirts. What they were saying is the contact was more. Obviously, what I suppose they must have looked at was apparently the contact was more so from the Millwall player than the Hull player, which I think was controversial, and I think I could see why they're really frustrated and really annoyed and maybe feel that goal was wrongly disallowed there, Millwall. Because if that was my team, I feel like I would be a bit frustrated with that. It does feel like at times they're looking to disallow goals, and it does feel like that goals have been chalked off that maybe wouldn't have been in years gone by. And ultimately, what we want to see is goals. That's not to say that if a goal needs to be disallowed, then it needs to be disallowed. But I think that one was one that that could be controversial, particularly if the tie goes. Depending on how the tie goes, it could be looked back on as a really crucial moment. And it might have been a decision they got wrong there. But Leonard Fortier got the winning goal. No, wasn't to be for Millwall, unfortunately, for them. And like I said, Millwall finished that. They only just missed out on that point at the final day. It wasn't far off of the getting in there. And quite often, sometimes we see third place teams, the teams that finish higher in the Championship, they sometimes do go on and win the playoffs. When it gets to the lower leagues, it's a lot more like anyone from any position seems to push on and win it. But I have said that Millwall, them in the Premier League would be massive, because especially if West Ham go down, stay up. 1989-1990 season, I'm pretty sure that was the last time Millwall was in the top flight. Everyone else is in there quite, much more recently. Middlesbrough and Hull were relegated in the same year, 2017, and then obviously Southampton were looking to go straight back up and not, established Premier League side. But first leg was quieter than maybe some thought it would be, particularly in front of goal. I think a lot of people said that would be the lowest scoring tie out of the two of them. Obviously both of them had no goals in the end, but going into the second leg, I think it's really hanging in the balance. The way both teams are, the way both teams set up, it could be another very, very tight game. So prediction, I think really you've just got to go with what you think is going to happen on the day. I think the tie could open up a bit, and I was wondering, because I see a lot of people, a popular prediction, it seems there's 1-0, whatever way it is, 1-0 either way seems quite a popular prediction, and could this even be an extra time one with it being so tight, possibly. But Millwall do quite often get goals at home. You usually do score at home. I think one goal at any point, if it was to get another early goal there, Millwall, could it open the tie up, possibly, I think. I don't know what, I've got a feeling Hull might go there and win, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 Hull City win, which is a big call, but I don't know, their away record's decent. Got a feeling they might do it. I'm not really sure why. I think both teams are very evenly matched. I think Millwall have shown throughout the season they obviously finished higher, they performed better over the course of the season, and I think they were the better team, I thought, the other night. But I think when it comes, I think it just could be really close, and I think it might just be one moment that wins this tie, because like I said, it was close. Both teams had chances, but it was very, in terms of goal side action, was quite limited on the Friday night. But that's what I'm thinking for that one. So if we move on to the next game, now this was a tie everyone said to be high scoring. This is the one that was supposed to be the really exciting one, would have all the goals in. Well, no, one of the main talking points happened off the pitch. Southampton allegedly sending a spy to Middlesbrough's training ground, which is just absolute madness. It's the first time something like that has happened in the Championship as well. That was a real throwback for me to 2019, where Leeds done the same thing to Derby, and then Derby later in the season ended up beating them in the playoffs. It was an incredible game, that second leg at Ellen Road, but they ended up beating them that year. Derby and all the Derby players are doing that binocular celebration with Middlesbrough. They were doing it yesterday at the start of the game to the Southampton fans, and then they were doing it back at the end of the game because they was obviously celebrating the draw. There was the happier team really coming away from that, and we'll talk about why that is in a minute. But the game itself, everyone thought it would be really tight and quite, maybe even quite end to end. Like I predicted a high scoring draw, because I thought it was a possibility, because both teams usually quite often do scoring games, and quite often we've seen them both come into it on reasonably good form. Southampton and Millwall better form than the other two. Hull obviously got that win on the final day, and Middlesbrough did start to recover a bit of form as well towards the end of the season. So both of them were coming into it off of runs of games where they was putting the ball in the net quite a bit. So I thought it would be more of the same, but no, it wasn't. They really did cancel each other out. But let's talk about that first half, because I think it's important we highlight how dominant Middlesbrough were in that first half, and this is kind of what I think the worry is for them going into the second leg. Middlesbrough started the game right from kick-off, just sheer domination of Middlesbrough as soon as the game kicked off all the way to half-time was just unbelievable. And the fact they did not get themselves in front, I think, is very alarming, to be honest. And I think we've seen in recent weeks we've seen that a lot we've seen it a lot where they've battered teams statistically in every area but the scoreline, and just not been able to get themselves in front, not been able to break the deadlock. And the way I saw how dominant they were, I thought, okay, it's only a matter of time before they do get a goal, and it felt like it was coming about 30 minutes in. They're just all over them, but then the goal just didn't come. And when it got to half time, the worry was now, because they're more than 75% of the ball and had about 16 shots to Southampton. I don't even think they've managed a shot in the first half. A few on target as well for Middlesbrough, and Conway missed that big chance, and I know a lot of Middlesbrough fans I saw weren't particularly happy with his performance yesterday. Some wanted him dropped for that second leg. Who will start for them in the second leg, I suppose that remains to be seen. And this is without Hayden Hackney as well. So this is a big performance for Middlesbrough. It looked like it could be really good. It looked like they could get themselves in front in the tie, which could be big, and it felt like they needed to get themselves in the lead before half time, because Southampton have got a knack of staying in games. They've got a knack, they quite often come from behind, so they're a team that can grow into games. So I think Middlesbrough had to get themselves in front in that first half. That might have been their chance in the tie, to get themselves in front and push on in that second half and win that home leg take the lead, St Mary's, then I think it's looking a lot better. But they're now going away from home, having not made the most of the first half in the first leg. They were so dominant, and they had to score. They had to score a goal. I thought Luke Ayling, I was impressed with his performance, but Middlesbrough, to be honest, the fact they were that dominant and couldn't put the ball away is poor. It's not good enough. And that's a worry going into the second leg. You think, how are you going to win the tie if you can't? But if that's how wasteful you are, and that's part of the reason they're got themselves in this position in the first place, falling off a bit towards in the second half of the season. But in the second half, it was all Southampton really. Middlesbrough struggled with great chances in the second half, and Southampton had a few really big chances. In fact, there was that header. I think it was. We saw some big chances go wide. That header that was just over the bar could have looked like it might even just fall down, but didn't. Then right at the end, they had that big chance. Dozy missed that big chance, similar to sort of ones Middlesbrough were missing in the first half. But again, that felt like a massive missed opportunity for Southampton to actually take the lead home with them. But I think they'd definitely be the happier team, having to get the 0-0 there. They really weathered the storm in that first half, and I think going into the second leg, will it open up a bit? I think the game could a bit. I think I'd expect Southampton to go on and win now at home. I think Middlesbrough might have missed a chance there. I think they were wasteful, and I think, to be honest, Southampton at home, having, like I said, whether the Storm got that draw to take back to St Mary's, I think I'd fancy them to go through in the second leg. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Southampton win there. I think Middlesbrough might find the goal from somewhere at some point on the night, but I think Southampton now have too much at home. Will we see the theme continue though? If it be really tight and both teams not making the most of the chances they're having, particularly Middlesbrough? I don't know. I think the second legs might have a bit more in terms of goal side action, at least anyway, in those in the second legs. But that's what I'm going to go for now. I'm going for Southampton Hull City final. That's what I'm thinking with my predictions there. Which I've gone against the odds on that one, because Millwall, most people think will go. I feel like most people will probably have to go through now at home. Now, I've just got a feeling there might be one twist in this, a bit of a twist in this playoff campaign this season. So that's what I'm going for there. Second leg of the League One, the reactions to the first leg, that's coming up very soon, so look out for that.